Hi friends, welcome back to my garden. Today it is, what's today? Wednesday. I'm off today because it's the first day of school. Yay! My two older kids are starting 5th and 6th grade this year, and I have just the littles at home right now, but there was one thing I need to get done today, and it is to help my lavender plant. It is, I believe, starting to get root rot, so we're gonna change out the soil and clean it up a bit. So I hope you enjoy this video, and thank you for joining me today. So I started off with getting out a tarp for the mess. I was trying to think how to contain it not to become so messy, but I think I still managed to get it all over the place. So here is my lavender. I noticed in the mornings, I sometimes will water, and I noticed that the soil was still very wet, and the leaves, if you can kind of see here, they're starting to turn a little yellowish. It's losing its color a little bit. So after I really paid attention, as the days went on, it started getting like a mildewy smell. So then I'm like, oh, it definitely needs to get changed. It's not draining, and if it's not draining, it's gonna get root rot, and that's what we want to prevent. So it's really important to try to pay attention to your plants, catch the signs before it gets to that point where you can't save it anymore. My other one that I noticed was this one, the bougainvillea. I had come out in the morning and I saw that the pot was full of water, and so I drained it. I kind of tipped it over and tried to drain it, and then I noticed that the root had plugged up the hole that's in the bottom, and so I tried to dig it out of the pot. I didn't want to break the pot because it's a terracotta pot, and I love the terracotta pots. So I took it out and I replanted it, and I'm hoping that it will live. But since I replanted it, it is, you know, kind of dying a bit here. Some of the leaves are turning yellow, and I'm not sure if I'm able to salvage it. Worst case scenario, I just have to get another one, which is totally fine. I rather that than have to break my pots. So lesson learned, you got to pay attention to your plants that are in pots. Just because they're in pots does not necessarily mean that you can just keep watering them. They do have to get changed out every, so often, usually, every 2 years, or unless you start seeing what I noticed. This one's been in this pot for almost 3 years, I think. And so it is time to change it out. So there's different options. You can empty the whole thing out. The soil that's in there, you do not want to reuse. So that you do need to discard, and you can, I will let that be your call as far as how you discard it. I don't believe that, at least where I live, we can put it in our yard waste. I think we have to take it to the dump to properly dispose of it. But I still need to further verify that. But I believe that's, as far as I know of, that's what you do. And the reason why you don't want to use the same soil is because if it is root rot, if it has it could have this bad bacteria, mold, fungus type of things in there, and you don't want that soil to contaminate any other plants. So if you use that soil for other plants, or if you use it even for the same plant, you don't want to keep on infecting it. So you want to remove, discard, use nice, fresh, new garden soil. So here I am trying to carry my lavender pot over to the mat. It is quite heavy. So you can see that I just tilted it, and it's already draining a lot of this water, and it looks pretty, not very pretty water. but it doesn't have much of a smell, so that's good. If it smells, it's not good. So I'm using just a regular hand shovel to kind of go around the edges of the pot because this was extremely filled with roots practically. It is quite hard to take out of the pot without breaking the pot. So I'm just trying to be gentle with it, going around the whole, sides of the terracotta, just trying to, loosen it up a bit. And as I'm digging the shovel inward, I'm trying also to I'm digging it through the side of the wall, but also in towards the center, and trying to see if I could pull it out as well. But finally I was able to get it out just with some time and care. Chuck it up a little bit, try to get it out. Now towards the bottom it does have a little bit of a smell. This is all hard. So much roots in this. So we're gonna take it out and just kind of try to start cleaning it up. So these roots here at the bottom are considered old roots. So the top has the newer roots, and that's what I want to preserve. So we decided to just kind of cut it. Now I'm using my pruners here to cut through some of these roots. The bottom roots don't really matter. So ideally when you repot a plant, you want to do it in fall or springtime because it's not going to be too hot, and you want to definitely do it before, like about at least a month before your first frost date or after your frost. So in like middle of spring is perfect. Okay, so all of that we're gonna toss. So I needed to repot this immediately because I started having that root rot smell. So if you are in this type of situation, you do want to take care of it sooner than later. So even though it's not ideal to do this in the middle of our summer because it gets super hot and it's going to put the plant in distress. The plant is already going through a distress situation because it's getting too much water. It's like drowning. And so trying to do this during the summer isn't the best scenario, but it's kind of our way of trying to save it in the long haul. So this is why we're doing it right now. And we're just trying to get as much as the dirt off as possible because that soil, like I said, it could have, these diseases or things like that. And we don't want that to continue to hurt our plant. This is a new lavender. Let's try to transplant that. As I was cleaning up the lavender, trying to remove as much soil, I noticed several little bunches here that had their own root system. So I removed some of those, and I hope to be able to pot them in pots and have more lavender. A little bit of the roots that we want. Yeah, I'm not sure if you can see, but how these roots look a little bit healthier. They are more white in color. You can see that. But I just want to take this down a bit. Try to take off as much soil as I can. Rinse off, use some water to kind of rinse some of it off. So as I continue to remove the soil around this lavender, I am also kind of loosening up the roots from it, and that's going to help as we repot it in the new fresh soil. pot, it's going to help it to kind of spread and grow better than if you were to just keep it tight. So lavender, if you plan to plant it, it does require at least 6 hours of full sun per day. And it is a drought tolerant plant once established. So once you've had it for, I believe, over a year, you don't need to water it as frequently. Less is more in the sense. But you do want to be careful with during the summertime. I live in an area where we get 100 degrees and above for week on ends. So I will water it a little bit more frequently during the hot summer months because of the fact that it is in a pot. The terracotta pot is going to absorb a lot of that water. Some of that water is going to be evaporated out of it. So I do want to make sure that it has plenty of water, especially during the summer. So I will, it does need a little bit more water than you might think during summertime, especially if you're growing it in a pot. But you can always do the finger test. Just kind of dig with your fingers about 2 inches in and kind of feel around. Does it feel still slightly moist? Does it feel super dry? That's gonna help you learn how to water it and how frequently your plant needs water. There is about 45 different species of lavender, so you do want to make sure you kind of do a little bit of research with which type of lavender you have, because they are used for different reasons. I really like to look for lavender that has strong smells, because I just absolutely love the smell of lavender, but that does not mean that you can consume these plants. There are certain varieties of lavender that you can use for culinary cooking and doing, I've seen on Instagram how they make drinks out of it and desserts and make really fancy things, but you cannot do that with all of the lavenders. So some of them are used for oils, some of them are used for cooking, some of them are used just for the scent, just for the flowers, in bouquets and arrangements. So you really want to make sure that you use the proper lavender, and you really have to do some homework with it. Lavenders grow great in zones 5 through 10. And you want to, the best way to grow them would be in the ground. Growing them in pots like I do can be a little bit challenging. I have lost several lavender plants because it can be a little bit tricky to keep alive. So either I overwater it or underwater it is usually the culprit. The lavender here that I have is called Lavandula angustifolia, which is the Munstead variety, also commonly known as English lavender. English lavender, there are several different types of English lavender. So this one is the Munstead. I do have another one that's an English lavender. I think it's the Hide Coat. Because the flowers do look different. These both can be used for culinary purposes. I have yet to use lavender in a culinary setting, but I would be interested in trying it. So once you're done fiddling with your plant and are done cleaning it, it is to the next step, and we have to disinfect our pot. So it's really important to wash it really good because, again, I use terracotta pots, so a lot of things can get left inside, like the pores, and we don't want that bacteria, fungus, whatever is harming our plant to stay in the pot. So it is important to make sure that you are cleaning it very thoroughly and well. I'm using a new sponge that I will now label just for gardening pots to clean my pot, and I'm using my dish soap as well to clean it. This is one thing you can do. There are other ways to disinfect using vinegar, bleach. There is using alcohol. So there's a lot of things that you can do to disinfect. This is just the easiest and more convenient way for me to disinfect my pot. Uh-huh. Okay. Okay. Uh-huh. No, we're not putting water in that. Okay. Okay. So I am using an all-purpose soil. This is technically for in-ground, but since I don't have the potting one, I'm going to use this, and I'm going to mix some perlite with it to help with the drainage. So I'm not using any specific measurements, I'm just eyeballing it, and I will mix it. For this I will use some gloves. What I would like to get my hands on is a different species. It's the Lavender variety, which have more of a stronger scent and are more medicinal use purposes, and would be better suited for like soaps or perfumes or things like that, not for consumption. So I would like to get some lavender with stronger smells, because when I walk out into my garden, I want to smell that lavender. I want it to be nice and strong, versus right now what I have, I do smell it a little bit, but not, I'd have to be really close to it to really get that smell, fragrance. So I'm on the hunt. So if you know of a lavender that has like a super strong smell every time you walk by it, please let me know in the comments, because I want something like that in my yard. I think that's a good height. Might just do a little bit more. Actually, before I put her in, wet the soil. Want to make sure that the water is draining properly, so we are wetting the soil and making sure that we see the water coming down from the bottom. I would also like to know if you have used lavender in a culinary setting. What did you use it for? How did you like it? I've had coffees that have like lavender in it, and it was not my cup of tea. I did not care for it. Maybe I just haven't had the right type of coffee where they add the lavender properly in it. But I would also love to know if anybody has eaten it, and how did they eat it, and what did they think. So let me know in the comments. Another thing you can add would be like little rock pebbles like at the bottom, so that the water drains nicely. For lavender, you really do want easy draining water, soil, so you don't want things to stay stagnant and stay in the pot too long. This would contribute to the root rot, which we are trying to prevent. So I didn't add the rocks, but I should have. I want to make sure my roots are covered, and then I'm gonna water, and I do want to fertilize this one, I think, just to give it some extra vitamins and nutrients. So this is my end result. After cleaning it, I tried to get as much dirt as I could off of it, tried to clean up the roots a bit, trimmed off a few of them. I will say that when you are repotting a lavender plant, it's gonna struggle for a couple of weeks, but after that it should start getting better. So you might notice it still being, yellowing or just kind of looking in distress. So I gave it a good water. I will fertilize. I think I'm gonna fertilize all the plants tomorrow in the morning. I'm gonna just let it be today. But stay tuned. Hopefully it gets its color back and it doesn't start dying like my bougainvillea is. Thanks again for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something, and if there is something that you know that I don't know, please share. And I'm gonna drink some nice cold water, and that's it for today. So I hope to see you next time. Happy gardening, and see you next time.